Guys. Uh, all right. Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, wherever you're joining from. Welcome to another edition in my partnership series. And my name is Eidayo Ogunyemi. I'm privileged to be able to have this conversation with you. Interestingly, this is the fourth session in my partnership series. And why do I do this? Startups play a very crucial role in nation building. And for me, personally, I sense a wave of development in Africa with the business sector leading the way in that wave. So today, I'm going to teach you on key elements of communication and trust building in partnerships. Key elements of communication and trust building in partnerships. Please remember to share this video, like it, share on your status, share across your social media. I believe so much that the more people we have listening to this, the better prepared we would be as a continent, because my passion actually lies in that African space. So let's get into the conversation. Now, while preparing for this session, I used two top search engines, and I tried to use that to find out why most business partnerships fail. And guess what the top reasons are? Number one, poor communication. Number two, trust issues. And for me, this is why it's crucial not to take this conversation lightly. This is why I would need you to make sure that you follow closely, because these two issues are key issues that have led to the demise of many businesses in Africa. Most of these businesses could have made a good story and a good point of reference for businesses coming behind, but unfortunately nobody got to. I mean, we didn't have the opportunity to even perceive the aroma of what would come out of those businesses, because the partnership just didn't work. And so it's why, for me, I would really want to appeal to you. Let's take this conversation seriously, because business success depends a whole lot on your ability to communicate effectively and build trust with partners, with team members, and even with clients. What's more, interestingly, again, I have been privileged to spend many years helping businesses and helping people form partnerships. And I've also had to oversee some dissolutions in the course of that journey. And in many cases, I could not even represent maybe one partner against the other, because that might amount to conflict of interest. And even sometimes I just didn't have that ability, because most times when this happens, it comes as a pain for me in the heart, when I imagine the kind of excitement that these people had when they started, and then coming to the point of thinking that that partnership or that baby would have to be let go of because of the differences, whether caused by trust issues or caused by communication gaps, and it could be very, very painful. So it's from the wealth of these experiences that I would like to talk to you about how you can improve purposeful communication in that partnership, and then build trust in the business as well. So let's get to the first part of the session: purposeful communication in partnership. Purposeful communication in partnership. I'll start by telling a story. Many years ago, I brought together two talented young entrepreneurs to start a business. One was very outspoken, while the other was much more quieter. And instead of using the differences to their advantage, these same traits became a problem among the partners, such that the vocal partner started using abusive language and left the quieter partner feeling unwanted and feeling like the weak person in that relationship. So this made that partner to feel, you know, just out of place in that partnership. So, of course, this led to conflicts with a quieter partner eventually pushing back to show that being less vocal was not a weakness on his part. Eventually, both of them lost focus. They got personal, and then this led to the business failing eventually. And the business, of course, could not then achieve the potentials that it had, which I believe would have really helped not just the entrepreneurs, but would have helped many entrepreneurs coming behind to also have that same feel of, if these guys can make things happen, we also can make it happen. Which is why I said earlier on that, Africa has had the opportunity to create a podium for younger entrepreneurs, less experienced entrepreneurs, to see the possibility in partnerships. But when we do not have the right stories, or when we have failed stories overshadowing the possibilities that can be created in relationships, it has a way of then hurting the ecosystem as a whole. And that's why we're having this conversation. So let me jump on those things I think would really, really help partnership when it comes to communication. The first thing I need you to learn is in listening to understand. Listening to understand. So you need to understand the reason behind every conversation and behind every request, behind every suggestion. You need to listen to comprehend and not to counter. Right? I will tell a story from the African context of what I know, which is the inability of many Africans to deal with constructive conversations, and thereby you find a number of people, they get defensive, they get opposing, and many entrepreneurs even go into meetings with their own agenda, and anyone against those agenda is considered an enemy, which is unfortunate. So the point I'm making really is that it's okay to disagree. It's okay to disagree on issues. That's the first thing you need to learn. It's okay to listen and agree or disagree, but make it a matter of issues, conversations around issues, while making sure that you also look at the bigger picture of building a healthy business. Very, very crucial. And then what next? You need to focus on business goals. See, every conversation should aim to improve the business. You need to connect every of your requests, every of your conversation, every of your suggestions, and whether every of your views as well. Connect them to the business and the business objectives and the interest of all the partners. I once met with a foreign investor in Europe who shared the secret to his business success. And he said to me that, look, it lies in their ability to see things from the other person's perspective and understand their concerns, and then find solutions that address those concerns, thereby creating a win-win situation for everybody that is involved. And for me, this is what we need to do as African entrepreneurs. And I hope that you are willing to embrace this ideology in that business and that partnership. It brings me to the next point. You need to make sure that you're separating issues from personalities. And now I've said this in a way, and I'm putting it in a bigger context. It's important for you to separate issues from personalities. I remember it was one of the former presidents in the United States that really echoed this point about, party structures can be based on differences in ideology, but it should not separate people. It should not separate the fact that everyone still belongs to the same United States of America, which for me was a very, very key point at that. So, what I'm trying to say, bringing it back home and to this conversation, is that it's okay to disagree on issues. but never make it about personalities. Don't get personal in any of your conversations. And this is one of the ways to encourage open conversations. If you get personal at any point, what you then do is you shut that opportunity for people to be open enough in engaging and discussing with you on that business. So you need to encourage open conversations, and that ultimately would help that business. Now, another thing that you need to do is to encourage dialogue, is to encourage a situation where everyone is able to discuss. For instance, you can ask open-ended questions, questions that, at the end of the day, it's not a yes or no, but questions that facilitate further discussion and a deeper reflection over the issues that everyone is discussing. Now, when you're trying to help your partners to see things through your lenses, I bet it with you, one of those things that you can do is to ask questions that help them to think. And this way, you won't be considered as being trying to impose ideas, because you would have helped them successfully to dig out your message from the right questions that you have put to them. Now, everything I have mentioned also depends on your tone, and you have to come to that you have to realize that fact as well. It depends a whole lot on your tone. So, talking about the African context again, one of those interesting things I love about Africa is the fact that language is used in such a flexible way in Africa. I'll give an example of Nigeria, where I come from. Now, in Nigeria, the same word can have both positive and negative meaning. I remember when, in those days, as a student in the university, my Yoruba landlord said something like "Kuishel," and that "Kuishel" means "well done," right? And he did not in any way intend to really tell me "well done." He was saying it in a very figurative manner, like, just saying something in the exact opposite. And so he didn't really enjoy what I did, right? He meant the opposite. And for me, taking advantage of that language sense, and pardon me for this, in a way that was not polite to him, I decided to reply by telling him "Kotokpesa." Someone said "Kuishel," and I said "Kotokpesa," meaning he didn't have to thank me for whatever I'd done. And, but I made fun out of it, but truth is, it was a wrong thing that I did. So, but coming back to it, this actually shows how powerful expressions can be. It shows the power in expressions, and it's why your context, your context and the way you put things, your tone, it matters, and it can be everything when it comes to effective communication. So, in essence, it's not just what you say, but how you put those words. They matter, they go a long way. So you should use the right tone and use that positive energy to ensure that your message is well received by the person that you're having conversation with. And then please, it's important for you to pay attention to non-verbal expressions. Very, very crucial. You see, many people that get into conversation, they will not really tell you the deeper things that are of worry in that business or in that partnership. You need to pay attention to the non-verbal expressions. You need to observe body language and make sure that you observe rightly as well. But then again, an African thing that we need to deal with, I beg of you, please make sure that you avoid overthinking. Now, why am I saying this? Put in the context of Africa, I think that we have a tendency to overthink things in Africa. And I think one of the reasons is because of a lot of us grew up listening to Tales by Moonlight, listening to superstitious stories, and all of these things. They've rubbed on the mind in a way that wasn't intended. And, you'll find that sometimes we assume so much, right? We are dreamers, and dreamers in a positive and negative context. So avoid overthinking things. And the way to make sure that you are not overthinking things and not assuming things is to ask the right questions and ask in a constructive manner. When you do this, um, you know you help your partner to reflect, and you also are in a position to begin to reflect on what exactly is being communicated, and this helps you to do a self-assessment of the situation. Very crucial as well. And then the next thing in communication, look, I have somebody I respect so much, and he's grown over the years to now always canvas for storytelling. And I agree with him all the way. There is power when you use the right illustrations and the right expressions, especially when those things are born out of experience, exposure, or the stories of what you have read, which is real. It's important for you to master the art of storytelling for clarity. You need to learn to use storytelling to illustrate your points and then make them to be more relatable and understandable. I think the African setup also has a way of encouraging stories. We are products of stories, products of many things that our grandma, our grandpa, our great great have passed on to us over the generations. And don't be shocked, a number of Africans embed their story even in the name of the surname of that they bear. So we are products of stories, and we need to learn to bring that strength within the African context into business space and into partnership by using the right stories and illustrations to drive home the point we are making when we have the opportunity in partnership. I bet this works a lot. You also should learn to listen to listen to your partners, listen to people. Listening, in my view, is not a weakness. Listening is a strength, and you can even use listening skills to build trust and respect when your partners know that you are willing to listen and you are willing to hear them out on issues. So invest in not just being heard, invest in listening and being the one doing the hearing and not just the talking. Very simple. Now, in summary, as we come to a close on that communication part, you need to identify the goals in every conversation. If it's you that is raising some points in that partnership or the other party, you need to understand and identify what do we intend to achieve out of this conversation. And then you need to take time to understand those you are communicating with. People are different. People are products of their experience and exposure at different points in time. So you need to understand where people are coming from. And then when you have all this understanding, you should be able to communicate the values that you share in common in a way that helps everybody to have the same thinking and helps you to drive home your points. So, in essence, one of those questions that helps you to come to that value point is, how does your point help the business, which is what connects you guys together? You need to then express the need for what you are putting forward and then create stories around them. And that way, you'd find that it becomes easier to get your partners to agree with your ideas. Now, this is what I call the purposeful communication in business building. Having said this, let's come to the other leg of this conversation: building trust in partnerships. Building trust in partnerships. I'll start by telling a story, and then hopefully I can use that story as well to then talk about the points that I know would help you, and we can call it a day thereafter. Now, I know about two friends who met during their days in the university, and then one of these friends, after they finished, was doing really, really well in business, and then he thought that his friend had the skills to help him grow the business he had started. So he decided to bring his friend on board, and then they worked together for some years. And in the course of those years, the business experienced a quantum leap in terms of growth. But then something unexpected happened. This friend that was brought on board made a decision that caused big problems for that business. And then the owner of the company had to also make a tough choice. And that choice was deciding to distance himself from his friend and then take control of the business again, while sending the friend out of the business. Unfortunately, this decision actually hurt that friendship. It hurt it so deep that it ended their partnership, and it destroyed the trust between both of them. Now, as unfortunate as this is, I hope it's something you will learn from for your partnership. So let me then use this story to teach you a couple of things about building trust in business. Number one point is you can establish trust when that partnership, or when a partner is going through tough times. It could be a partner, it could be the partnership, it could be some partners. The best way, and my own view here, the best opportunity to build trust would be during the trying times. And using myself as an example, and maybe that's why this point is influenced a lot by my own experience in partnership. Now, I've been privileged, very lucky to have excellent business partners, and I call them life partners, right? Not in marriage, but life partners. And I recall there was a time, for instance, when I had very troubling moments in life, very disturbing, very difficult moments of my time. And then one of these partners showed incredible loyalty, incredible support to me in that period. And what did this partner do? By deciding to prioritize my private needs over the business agreement that we signed, it was a lot of support for me. And for me, this made me to realize that the importance, I mean, it really took me to that point where I saw that beyond doing business, this partner had a commitment to our relationship. And the key lesson for me is that this partner seized the opportunity to demonstrate loyalty, and that loyalty fostered trust between us. And this is what you need to look out for in your partnerships. You need to find every opportunity to demonstrate loyalty to the other partner, or to the partnership as a whole. And as you demonstrate loyalty, it is how you then build trust in that partnership. And I hope that this story I've shared is something that connects for you, and it helps you to know what to do and how to do in that partnership. The next point I would mention would also be picked from that story that I shared earlier. And that point is that you'd find from that story that it was quite obvious, right? That the friend in that story, he was brought into the business, and that friend was able to use leverage skills and competencies to build the business over the years. And I'm sure that those skills and competencies led to more trust between the partners at that time. For instance, um, I'm sure that initially, while he was newly brought on the business, there could have been less trust, and then gradually was making a lot of decisions that made the business to do better. And then that one thing changed everything, and then trust was lost. Everybody went their ways. What's the lesson I'm bringing up here? The lesson is that trust in most cases is built on your capacity. So in partnership, you should not be laid back. In partnership, you should be able to keep building competence and building capacity, because your ability determines how much trust can be given to you to paddle the business. I'll give an example here, for instance. Imagine entering into an airplane and then given the opportunity to get into the pilot space, only for you to find a 5-year-old. And the attendant had done everything, told you they're about to take off, and then you're seeing a 5-year-old. What will come to your mind? You would not dare sit in that airplane and go on that journey. You would rather say, look, I'm forfeiting every other thing. Let me get down from this airplane. And that's how it is in business. You build trust out of competencies. You build trust out of the demonstration of capacity. And so in partnership, partners should learn not to be laid back. Partners should learn to keep building capacity, because in building capacity is how you then are able to build that trust that would eventually help the business to grow and do great things. And then the last thing I want to share is what I call genuine care, sincere care. I gave the example earlier on, the privilege I have of people in my life that I've been able to build partnership with, and that demonstration of genuine care, even in moments when I was down and I needed that support network to raise me. My partner, for instance, would have gone business wise alone and insisted that business is business. And at that point, I can feel left out. I can feel so lonely that eventually, when I sort myself, it then becomes the basis of our relationship. It becomes the way I relate. And before you know it, it begins to hurt the baby, which is the business. So you need to make sure that in that partnership, you find every means to demonstrate loyalty. And as you demonstrate loyalty, in demonstrating that loyalty, you're also showing genuine care. And in showing genuine care, you are building trust in the relationship. And everyone must learn to be the ones doing this and not the ones that are the receiving end, waiting for somebody to overlook the partnership charter, the partnership agreement, and come to their side to be of help. No, you need to be the one looking for opportunity to overlook that charter and be of help to that partner. And as you become more selfless in the relationship, as you build capacity, you find that things will begin to get smoother in that relationship. And really, this is how you can build a partnership that works. And I think that Africans, we have the prospect to be this kind of partners, even than our colleagues in Europe, because there is that communal living mindset that we've been trained to live by. It's not an independent system, it's a communal system we grew up under. And as Africans, we should be able to leverage that communal style in our business to be our brother's keeper. And I think this is how we can begin to redefine the African story, and this is how we can thrive as a people. Thank you for joining today's conversation. My name remains Eyitayo Oguyemi, and Olumide, thanks so much for being a part of this. Thanks for your notes. Thanks for also helping to share this across board. Until I come your way again next week, remember, it's a series. I will continue this, and I hope you found it very, very helpful. Do have for yourself a wonderful week ahead, and bye.